In December 2025, Mexico stunned the world by directly challenging the Trump administration's new trade demands. President Claudia Sheinbaum's government didn't just push back. They filed a formal dispute under the USMCA, the very deal Trump had championed. The issue? Tougher Made in America rules for auto parts, demanding more US-made components. Mexico argued these rules broke the USMCA's spirit and letter. Economy Secretary Marcelo Ebrard declared, "We are partners, not subordinates." Mexico went public, releasing legal documents and expert opinions, showing how the new rules would disrupt decades-old North American supply chains. The message: the US was hurting its own economy as much as Mexico's. For years, Mexico had chosen negotiation over confrontation. Not this time. President Sheinbaum's team believed caving would set a dangerous precedent. They drew a line in the sand, signaling a new era of Mexican trade policy. The world watched, unsure if this was a bluff or the start of a trade war. Mexico's move was bold, calculated, and public. No more quiet diplomacy. The government was ready to use every tool in the USMCA to defend its position. This was a direct public challenge to American trade policy. The risk was high, but so was the resolve. Mexico's defiance marked a turning point in North American trade relations. The old playbook was gone. The continent braced for what would come next. Mexico's legal challenge blindsided the Trump White House. President Trump's early morning tweet, "Mexico is playing games, not smart, tariffs coming," revealed both anger and surprise. The administration had expected quiet protests, not a public showdown. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer called Mexico's move deeply disappointing, but behind the scenes, officials scrambled for a response. The White House was caught flat-footed with no clear counter-strategy. Some officials threatened immediate tariffs, others urged negotiation. The confusion showed just how much Mexico's move had upended their plans. The US had underestimated Mexico's resolve and strategic sophistication. "We were so focused on China and Europe. Mexico was supposed to be the easy part," admitted a senior official. The administration's old playbook, dictate terms, expect compliance, no longer worked. Mexico had learned to fight back using the very rules the US had written. The element of surprise was Mexico's greatest weapon. Washington was momentarily paralyzed. The US now faced a trade battle on multiple fronts. Mexico was no longer a passive player. The balance of power in North American trade had shifted. As Mexico's challenge reverberated, Washington shocked Canada with a 25% tariff on all Canadian-assembled electric vehicles. The official reason: national security, a claim that baffled Canadian officials. Prime Minister Trudeau called the move absurd and insulting, warning it would destroy jobs on both sides of the border. Canada vowed dollar-for-dollar retaliation. The timing was disastrous, hitting just as North America's auto industry was pivoting to electric vehicles. US automakers had invested billions in Canadian plants. Now their entire EV strategy was in chaos. The tariffs threatened to unravel decades of cross-border cooperation. For Canadians, it felt like a betrayal, proof that no amount of goodwill could shield them from US unpredictability. The northern border, once a symbol of friendship, had become a new front in a trade war. The shockwaves were immediate and profound. US automakers, the supposed beneficiaries of the tariffs, were outraged. GM CEO warned the tariffs were a tax on customers and a threat to America's electric future. Ford and Stellantis echoed the alarm. North American supply chains were efficient for a reason. Labor unions were split. Local chapters in Michigan and Ohio feared for their jobs. "A tariff on a car built in Ontario is a tariff on a part built in Toledo," said a UAW leader. Workers knew their livelihoods depended on the entire North American auto sector. Dealerships worried about soaring prices and shrinking inventories. The tariffs risked slowing the EV transition and hurting US climate goals. Instead of protecting jobs, the policy threatened them. The backlash revealed a deep disconnect between political rhetoric and economic reality. Trade experts saw the breakdown of the post-NAFTA consensus. Dr. Emily Vance noted, "North American trade was built on integration. You can't just flip a switch." Mexico's legal challenge used Trump's own USMCA against him, forcing the US to choose follow the rules or undermine its own deal. The Canadian EV tariffs, experts argued, were a high-risk gambit with little strategic logic. It looks less like strategy, more like a shakedown, said trade lawyer Mark Warner. Aggressive moves risked pushing Canada and Mexico to diversify away from the US. The era of predictability was over. North America was now a sea of uncertainty. Businesses hated the chaos. Mexico and Canada were showing their own leverage. The US could no longer bully its partners into submission. The power dynamics had shifted. The coming months would test whether the continent would descend into a trade war or find a new balance. The stakes had never been higher. North America has seen trade disputes before, softwood lumber, sugar, tomatoes, but 2025 was different. The scale was bigger, the rhetoric sharper, and the stakes higher. Past disputes were sector-specific and quietly resolved. Now, the entire model of integration was under attack. The use of national security against Canada was unprecedented. Mexico's formal USMCA challenge marked a new, more confident approach. The USMCA's enforcement tools gave Mexico leverage it never had under NAFTA. The political context had changed. America First rejected the old consensus of mutual benefit. Trade was now about sovereignty and national pride, not just economics. Compromise was harder than ever. The old middle ground was disappearing. As 2025 ends, North America stands at a crossroads. A full-blown trade war could devastate supply chains, jobs, and economies across the continent. Alternatively, leaders could return to negotiation, but trust is broken. Even a ceasefire would leave scars and lingering uncertainty. One thing is clear. The old North American trade relationship is over. Mexico and Canada will seek new partners, reducing reliance on the US. The US is no longer the undisputed center of the continent's economy. The defiance of 2025 marks a fundamental realignment of power. The future will be more complex, contentious, and uncertain. North American trade will never be the same.